Okay, so originally in base we spoke about there's certain uh, um, wordings of betrothal that are very distinct and clear that those are wordings of betrothal. And so long as either she says that she understood that that's what he was saying, or they were speaking about betrothal beforehand, then it's a 100% betrothal. And to the point where the man is not believed to then say that that's not what he meant. Then in Gimel so for example, that was like he says, you are my wife, you are acquired to me, you are in my property, these kind of things. Then you have in Gimel we start talking about these other, and of course the Chalkas Mechayik and Beis Shmuel both say that when the man's not believed to say that that's not what he meant, is specifically when it's talking about these very distinct terms that are more definite terms of betrothal. But when it's the ones that which we're going to talk about in Gimel, when it's the wordings that only make it a possible betrothal, but not a for sure one, that in those cases they say the man is actually believed to say that's not what I meant. So in Gimel we say, you want to read through Gimel fast?
Yeah.
Even though we did it already, but
I'm just reading in English fast. I mean, just to make a differentiation, like I said before, the difference between terms of affection versus terms of actual betrothal. Like you can call someone your soulmate. That doesn't mean you're saying that they're your wife. But yeah, so if he says, "Hariyal you had to sleep," he says to her, "You're unique to me. You're designated to me, my helpmate, my counterpart, my rib, my closed one, my treasure chest, my soulmate." So this is all Suffolk. Look at that. This is all doubtfully betrothed. So that Rama says this halacha, even if he says, "You're my harufasi," you're my espoused one. But if he says to me, "You're my married one," nisuasi. So nisuin, that's not Suffolk kedushin. That's nothing. Because it's not kedushin. That's a different stage of marriage. You can't don't jump
right,
the gun. First, you got to do.
right. You have to have a betrothal first, yeah.
So as long as we're here, as he were, as long as he were to speak with her beforehand about dealings of engagement or marriage. So this is back in the Shulchan Aruch. This is all a doubtful. This is all a Suffolk kedushin. If Bechalal they were talking about being married, but if he didn't
Right.
say anything about that at all, then we're not even concerned about it being a Suffolk kedushin at all. It's just random terms of affection. It's not in
Right,
the context of we're getting married.
which makes a lot of sense, being that even with the definite terms, we require either that she understood that this is
Context.
the case, or alternatively that we're speaking about it. So here, where it's
Well,
only a
to
doubtful
me,
term for sure.
it's not an either or. To me, it's because they're speaking about it. So that means there's a Havana. It all comes back to there has to be
Right. No, but
consent. She has to understand it.
I'm saying
So,
even in base where it's a where it's a more definite terms,
right.
even there we required
Havana.
either that we required there also that there's that the context is there.
I'm saying is either way, it's Havana, either because she acknowledges it, like
Right.
verbally or something, or because the context, because they were talking
Right.
about it. So we don't even need her verbal acknowledgement. Like
If
you
they were
need
talking about it.
like before you treat someone or something, like different things. I can't think of a specific example right now, but for certain things like medically and stuff, you need the patient's at least some sort of verbal,
Well, right. Consent
consent
or
to saying
whatever.
like,
Yeah.
okay, you're okay with this, or like sometimes on the phone, if you're doing something I'm doing it on behalf of my wife, just hand the phone to your wife, and she says yes, you're Nechama Weldon. You give consent that okay, and I mean,
Or here's
honestly,
here's a,
I could.
here's a here's a here's a closer example.
Right.
When they read the things, right, whatever they call it, do you understand your rights?
Right. The
Not in
Miranda
matter of
rights, right?
consent.
The police officer, right?
It's do you understand your rights? Do you understand
You
these
understand
rights
these
that
rights
I read?
as they've been read to you? Yeah, yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
Right, very good. So yeah, so then the Rama jumps in again. Okay, so now the Rama again till the end. Someone who says to a woman, "I'll give this, I give this to you with love and affection." So is love and affection a betrothal or not? So we are concerned that maybe it's kiddushin because what we mean that it should be for love and affection means it's like saying you're mu'edes to me. You're the only one for me. Love and affection meaning my only love, my only affection. There are those who say that these utterances do not count if he does not speak with her about marital matters beforehand. So even though he says that love and affection doesn't necessarily connote exclusive love and affection, the only one for me, maybe, he likes her, he appreciates her, but it's not necessarily for him. She's not mine. So in any case, if she says that she accepted it though in the name of betrothal, then it's a suffix kedushin. Even if he gave it to her quietly, didn't even say
Right.
anything. But she says, "Oh, he gave me the ring. You were engaged." Yeah. And then oh, he says nothing, but then they go back and they both testify that the taka the kavana was to be engaged. Then taka it's an engagement. There are
Right. So
places
so so
where
ba so basically the difference is still what we said before, meaning in both cases, if it's a definite or a possible wording, in both cases, if they were talking about Kiddushin beforehand, then well, in the one case, then it's a for sure Kiddushin. In the second case, it's a possible Kiddushin. If on the other hand, if if they if in the first in the first if she says she understood it to be Kiddushin, then depends if it's the certain wording,
right.
then it's Kiddushin. If it's the not certain wording, we trust him to say no, that's not what I meant. But if he also says yes, that's what I meant, then it's actually not only is it a possible Kiddushin, it's a for sure Kiddushin.
Yeah. Basically, there are some people that say no.
Well,
If
I think what they're saying, I think the Yesh Imrim is the fact that Mikol Mokem Im Hi Emer Shekibla have Yisaf Kiddushin.
because then it goes on to say even if he takes
Well,
says
meaning that they're
no, I
arguing
didn't.
with what they're arguing with. It looks like this Yesh Imrim would hold that even if he doesn't agree, if he says no, that's not what I meant, it would seem, and should be because we already say after that if they both say say that yes, that's what we meant, it's a for sure condition if he said nothing. So it must be talking that this opinion holds. This opinion he's bringing holds that no, even by the doubtful wordings, if she says that's what she meant, we don't believe him to take it back. The only difference being that it would only be a doubtful kedushin. It wouldn't be a for sure kedushin.
All right, so you're saying there's a yesh Emrim that says it would be heavy kedushin. For sure,
Well,
kedushin, even if he says nothing.
the
But afterwards, they say the kavanah was for kedushin. But now, in places where it's not a for sure kedushin, meaning it would only be maybe a suffix, it would only be a suffix kedushin. Afilu
then
im Haezer achikaf. Remember, lo hariyat mikdash. Even if he takes it back and says no, that wasn't a kedushin, and now I'm saying hariyat mikdash li, he still has to take the thing of value. It doesn't help the wording right now. That's not a kedushin. Just words is not a kedushin. There has to
right,
be
the
some
whole
sort of
the
kinyan.
whole
There has to
thing
be
is
something of
the
value.
whole thing is the intent, and in fact, like we see that even if he gives it to her and doesn't say anything, but then they both say yeah, that's what I. He says yes, that's what I intended by giving it to her,
That's what I
and
was
she says
doing with
that's what
that.
I understood it to intend. Yeah, right. So the
Right.
intent is very
So
important
so
here.
he's saying, oh, makim delay have kedushin. He's saying that's a contrast. That's a place where he says nothing, but the act of giving something of value and the intent is fine. Even we just have to clarify. He has to clarify later that that was the intent. But okay, that's enough for it to be kedushin. The other people, though, who say no, that's not fine, he says, I don't care what he gives her or what he says. It has to be both. It has to be both. Just because he says a strong for sure language that mikudeshesli, that's not good enough. He has to do it with an item. And just because he gives her an item,
I
that's
don't know
not
if
good enough.
that's part of the Yeshemrim. I think that's just
No,
Ramah.
not the Hashem. I think that's the Vamakim Lehav Kedushin. That's him going back.
Right. No, he's saying the Kol Makim, regardless of any of Uve Makim. He's in other words.
Ubimakim.
I think
In
after
those places, the Lehav
Adi Kedushin,
Kedushin,
it's a hard stop. Right. So I think he's talking about any of these cases above, where it's not a Kedushin.
including the Hashem, you're saying.
Yeah, any of these situations. Right. Depend.
Then
Any of
what's the
these
Lehav
situations.
Kedushin?
No, meaning like have a kedushin means any of these cases that was not a kedushin, like if he says Hariyab Nisuasi,
Oh, okay.
yeah, or honestly we could take it a step further. The truth is even if it's a suffix kedushin, and he now wants to, you can't be married to her with a suffix kedushin. So even if it's a suffix kedushin.
And that's why I think it's a different. It's saying a
Right,
different
no,
opinion.
because
The
think
opinion
about
that
it. Think about it. If it's a suffix kedushin, right? You're not allowed to live together.
okay, was that
And so okay, so the point is now he wants to say, okay, well let's do a full kedushin. Well, I want to be married to her. So what do we do? He has to take the thing back and do it again. Right? Like the case with your brother, right? Where he couldn't just say it again. Now in the meantime, by your brother, it was a suffix kedushin, right?
was my sister? But yeah,
Your sister. So it was a suffix kedushin. Okay, but don't make a difference. You can't be married on a suffix kedushin, so he had to take it back and redo the kedushin. So in any of these cases, meaning whether it's not a kedushin, then for sure you have to take it back, and because you can't just say it, right? Meaning in any case where you're required to say again hayat mikudeshes, you also have to take back the ring and give it back and give it again. That meaning that the saying and the giving has to be at the same time. So then what did we say? We said let's see, the Chag is Mechekik. Fine. So they explained the same thing. They explained first of all the thing that you said before about that if she says that Hariyat Sawasi, that doesn't count. Why? Because like we said before that the because this is not you can't betroth with the language of you can't do kedushin with the language of nisuin. That's a clear language of nisuin and not a language of kedushin. So that for sure doesn't work. And furthermore, also he spoke about the idea that if it's that what's the deal if it's a language of working. Sorry, he said, hang on a second. Hang on a second. If we're saying that if he gave it to her and didn't say anything, but they both agree that it's that it's kedushin, so why? So what's wrong with these languages? It's because okay, if you said nothing and then you said that's what you meant, that's one thing. But if you said a language that could imply work, it actually makes it worse and not better. Um, looks like the Beis Shmuel's talk similar. Right, then he said that this is all dafka when they were talking about kedushin. So it says the Beis Shmuel. And I'm sorry, if we first the inflation that we're not worried about these languages if they weren't talking about it already. I don't know. Yeah, Mishum de Yodah might come because she doesn't know what he's saying. Met is the Yodah, but if she says that she understood L'Shem Kiddushin Kibla and she accepted it as Kiddushin, then it's going to be explained soon, which the Ramah explains. V'hu shoyim adaber imo, says the Beis Shmuel. This is so long as they were talking about it. The imhu amar bahani l'shoynes the loy oyu kavanos l'shem Kiddushin yesh lemid eman. So some say that if he says it in these wordings, that which is what he said before the last sif also. Some say that in this case of these languages, unlike the certain languages, that some say that he's trusted to then say no, that's not what I meant. Even according to the Beis Yosef, right? Even according to the Chaber, that it holds that the husband that the man is not trusted to say that he did not understand that this is a language of kedushin. Yishleim is shiny ilu l'shem is the misap to b'shas. In him l'shem kedushin. Yishleim the huneman leimer shaloi oya kavanos l'shem kedushin. V'chein kosav b'chagz m'cheikin. So basically, he says. So how about the Beis Yosef? He says, oh, that's different. When the Beis Yosef says the man is not trusted, that's dafka when it's a language that's definitely a kedushin language. However, mistame in the case. However, in the case of the doubtful languages, then Mistama even the Mechaber would agree that he's trusted to say that that's not what he meant, and and that he said that he's not trusted is only by the for sure languages. Then we said that somebody who says, I'm giving you because of love and affection, it's like he said, miyu'edis or miyuchedis, meaning that it's a doubtful, it's a possible kedushin, it's a doubtful kedushin. Ki ilu amalim yadis miyuchedis li, says the Chalkas Mecheke, kelemar, meaning the loshin she'amar b'shvil av v'chiba, havi ki ilu amar amenashe tia av v'chib b'neinu v'tia ahuvasi. That this wording that he said that I'm giving it to you for the sake of love and affection is as if he said that there should be love and affection between us and you will be my beloved. And this wording is no worse than excluded to me or for me or what's the other one or unique to me. So therefore, my beloved, right? You are my beloved. Is also there's based on this should be also a doubtful. Maybe yeah, maybe no. And if they're both of them agreed that this was their intention, then she needs a get. Which is a very funny thing. Because just before we just said that if they both said that that's their intention, even if he said nothing.
Yeah, shame him.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe he doesn't hold like this.
So not everyone holds that way. That's just...
Says the Bishvil Av V'Chibo, says the Beishmuel. Kilema Loshin Shamar Bishvil Av V'Chibo Habikin. So he says the same thing. Like I mean, Chadus leaving to forget. Ken Kosovo Mordechai, or which I guess is the same. So that's where the Chalkes Mechayk gets it, because it's the exact wording that the Chalkes Mechayk used also. But needed the Kavanosai, and it would seem that his intent is what? The Mordechai's intent in this is what? Afilu even if they were talking about, because we said even the other wordings, it has to be that you were talking about Kiddushin. So it seems that his intent is even if they were talking about Kiddushin. Even though these kind of wordings that for love and affection is not a work related type of wording. Since he said for the sake of love, and he didn't say that there should be love between. So it sounds like he's saying for the love that we already have. Therefore, it's only a possible kedushin. Even in the case that he was talking to her about the kedushin right now. And according to the opinion that someone who says at nisuasi, which he writes close to there here. If he was talking to her with words of kedushin, then it's for sure. It's actually a for sure kedushin. Then we have the Yesh Emnim, the Afal Gav. So some say that even though these wordings don't help unless you were already talking about Kiddushin, right? But still, if she says that she understood it to be Kiddushin, then it's a possible Kiddushin, right? And if he says he also meant it, then it's a for sure Kiddushin. And so Yesh Emnim, the Afal Gav says the Beishmul Ken Kosov Haran. This is what the Ran writes. Mihu Haran, so that's the Ran's opinion. Meaning what's the Ran's opinion? Is that even with when it's meaning it seems by the for sure languages, everybody holds that if she says she understood it to be a kedushin, it's a kedushin. How about in these possible languages? What if she now says I understood it to be a kedushin, but they weren't talking about it before? So according to the Ran, if she says that's what I meant it to be, it's a Safek kedushin. If he also says that's what I meant it to be, then it's a for sure kedushin. Oh, we got balloons. The Rambam, on the other hand, and the Rosh, it sounds like that they argue on the Ran. The Svirale, and they hold Mahani L'Shainis by these doubtful languages. Leisa afilu Safek kedushin. That they hold that no, there's not even it's not even a possible kedushin. It's nothing. If they weren't talking about, according to the Rambam and the Rosh, if they were talking about with these languages, if they were talking about kedushin, then it's a Safek kedushin, it's a possible kedushin. If they weren't talking about betrothal beforehand, it's nothing. It's not a Safek. V'chein kosov ben Yeruchim lahedya, v'chein kosov b'chedushim marit. It would seem from the Gemara that it's not like the Ran, meaning that it's like the Rambam and the Rosh and their cronies. Why? Because even in the certain languages that we had in Hatzvi-Bais, it has to be, we require that what? That she understands that it's a Kedushin wording. Or alternatively, we require that either she understood it's Kedushin or that they were talking about it already. Like the Ran himself says, So then what's the point of asking on the different wordings if they're a language of Kedushin or not? But Maya Skinon, what are we dealing with? If we're talking about they weren't talking about Kedushin at all, so where does she know this from? So Talmud Leimer Afilu so meaning that so obviously even when we're talking about a certain language, that the language is certain, it's still we would have the issue of did she understand it? So Mayaskinon, so what are we dealing with? So by force, you have to say, you're forced to say. Oh, Leikum Abaya. Mishum di Yishleim, I did him in Shalosh Gedushin. That because you have to say that it's talking about that she understood that it's a Kedushin wording. Aval bahani l'shayin is leimahani afilim mevina. But in these languages, these doubtful languages, it doesn't help even if she does understand. V'chein mash me'atur, and so it sounds from the tur. U'be'elu l'shayin is asher an misupakim im him losh Kedushin v'hayu asukim biski Kedushin u'shnei maim dohi kavanos l'shem Kedushin kosav dahavi sofi Kedushin. So meaning that in these languages that we're not sure if they're a language of Kedushin, and they were talking about Kedushin, and they both say that it was their intent. Because of the Havi-Sof Kedushin, he writes that it's a possible Kedushin. Give them a sakbalon who are in the Ha'edim Spakim, that since they're not sure, so too, the witnesses are also not going to be sure. So there's no Edim. Right? So, because here's another requirement. There's another requirement is there has to be witnesses that witness this giving of the ring. So if they're not sure, even you're going to come later and say, "Oh, but yeah, that's what we intended." But the witnesses don't know that because it's a doubtful language. So he's pulling in. It's not just a matter of if he understood and she understood. It's that the witnesses also have to have understood. The situation has to be, meaning the situation has to be such that it is understood. So Mikol Mokem still said Rama, if she says that she understands that it's for the sake of Kedushin, it's a suffix. And from this, it sounds like we don't trust him to say that it's that according to this opinion, unlike what we said before, we wouldn't trust him to say that it's we wouldn't trust him to say that's not what he meant. Rather, if he says one of these wordings and she says she understood it to be, and they were talking about it before, and she says she understood it to be Kedushin, even if he says no, I didn't mean it, it's still a Safi Kedushin, it's still a possible Kedushin. Like as the Beis Yosef argued according to the opinion of the Rosh in Siman Zeh of Cotton Gimel in this chapter subsection 3. However, from the wording of the Ran, the Kosav that he writes Ein hachnami da have matzi leukme be Yodah Michael Amallah. That in this case, mashma the hutayin, mashma that he is claiming the l'shem kedushin nasallah, but he havina kavanasi. That he's saying he gave it for kedushin. He's looking at a different. He's looking at no the case where we say that she's trusted and make it meaning he says that it's what he call it's that he basically the Ran holds he is trusted. And what are we talking about in the other case that he says is that with these lashonis with these doubtful wordings, even if he says he claims I gave it to her for kedushin, and she says yeah, I understood this. Then it's a suffix. But if he says that I never meant this at all, according to the Ran, he's believed. So so basically it would appear, says the Chalkes Mechekig, that there's an argument between the Rosh and the Ran. The Rosh would seem to hold that he's not trusted to say I didn't mean it, and according to the Ran, it would seem to say that yes, he is trusted. And in fact, even if he gave it to her quietly and didn't say nothing, and then they say this was our intent, then it's a kedushin. Says the Chalkes Mechekig, Pshat Loshen Mashma Dahavi Vadi Kedushin. He doesn't say it's Safi Kedushin. He says Havi Kedushin. It's a Kedushin. So it would imply that meaning that it's a complete 100% Kedushin. And like you said before, it's better he was quiet than to say these wordings, because it's not just that you say, wait a second, if he said these wordings, why is it worse than being quiet? Because the quiet, now they can clarify what they meant. You're starting from a zero thing, sort of. Whereas these wordings, they actually make it worse. These types of wordings themselves cast doubt on his intention. Still, this needs further delving into. Why if he says it and says nothing, it's for sure, but where he gives it where he gives it and she says that she understands it. No, what do you mean Amra he? Why would she say it? That it's a suffix kedushin. Chi b'shvil amidasa gara, is it worse because of her saying? Not sure what case she's talking about. Vehiva hu aimrim. That's what. You're looking at Ramah, the Lashon is Behivu Oimrim. So in other words, how it's he gave it to her and didn't say nothing.
And then they both come and say,
Right.
just come and say, okay.
Mokim didn't say, you know, Yalla das the notion bestika havu vayde kedushin vehich the nosan hu amra hiva hu. It should say amra hiva hu. Then it's a suffix kedushin. Is what did her saying it make it worse? The gamma rav maram b'tshuva ein bol achriach rak latzricha get loishi kedushin v'dayin. So he's saying really no, it's not. When he says havi kedushin, he's just talking about. He doesn't mean that it's a. He doesn't mean that it's an actual, that it's really a for sure kedushin, but just he means that to require a get. The philosophic kedushin lehavu, that even because even a doubtful kedushin you don't have kosh dibir klum lehuv lehi. If neither of them said nothing at all, right? He says if he gave her quietly, and then after it they say fine, but if nobody said nothing. Then it is nothing. It's not even a suffix. The imkain lama amar nosan huva amra he is sveikahavi. Because that's the case. Why if she's why if he gives it to her and she says it's a suffix, it shouldn't make it any worse. Ta'afilu nosan huva shoski he sveikahi. Right? Ubishvil amirasa legora afal pisha yesh liyashu b'doichik en niriklau. But even though there are some ways of answering of answering that shaila, it's really they're forced answers. They're not really they're not good answers. Maram, and somebody who looks in the Chuvas Maram Yira Shesham Haya Hamaisa Shadibru B'Chilim Kedushin, and they'll see that by the Maram the situation he was talking about was that they were talking about Kedushin first. But what's the problem? The problem there is that to them it's obvious, but to the witnesses it wasn't obvious. And he told her in the time of giving it l'shem ava v'chiba. V'shneim kivin l'shem kedushin. He said for love and affection, and they both meant for kedushin. So what's the problem? The problem is the Edom don't know what he meant. And on this he wrote, I feel like Dibri Moklal, there should be Yodam, the Far Shalos Malkavanasim. That in this case, even if he didn't speak to her at all, that they have meaning even he didn't say nothing. He just gave it to her. That they have the permission to explain what their intent was when he said this, what he meant and what she understood. Amar like he said, Pastam the Gomer Beliba Lahiti Paschitim. If he just says, I'll give it, like the case where he says, I'll give you bread, I promise to give bread. He just says bread. He doesn't say what kind of bread. And then he gives a wheat bread that we go after his we trust him to say what he meant. So the same thing here. And see the bach. But if he gave it and didn't say nothing, then it doesn't work. Why? That things that were not said are not nothing. They're not words. So if you said something and now you can touch up, here's what I meant, and it lines up, fine. But if he said nothing, it's nothing. He didn't say nothing. And even if he even if he didn't say to me, he didn't say the word li to me, it's also it's hands that don't prove. Meaning it's not doesn't prove anything, and it's not a kedushin. So how much more so if he didn't say anything? I feel in Ocean Bestika says the Beis Shmuel. Because Mordechai this is the opinion of the Mordechai. But in the other Peskim, it doesn't sound like this. Meaning the other Peskim don't seem to agree that with this yesh emrim that if he gives it and says nothing, that it's good. V'ayin shuvas Rashba simin Tov Shanayin Daled B'ritba Shehevia B'Yesef B'Simin Memhei or Magid B'Shuvas Marajdam Simin Lamdal. See all these places. The Karherich Vazah Chalkis Mechekik and the Chalkis Mechekik that we were just talking about talks about this more at length. However, if there was already a desire between them, and then he gave it to her quietly, then it can be similar. What do we say Sablanis was?
Savlanut.
That he gave it. The Cheshin de Sablanis Shnais L'Shem Vidushin. Avagav the Imedabri Maklum. So, which is funny because I don't know what's the difference if they wanted it, if they weren't talking about it. So, how do you know they wanted it? They didn't say nothing. It's almost the same as they were talking about it. And in either case, he basically brings down the same two opinions as what that the Mordechai seems to hold, that even if he gave her quietly, and all the other poskim seem to go by to which the Chalkis, like the Chalkis Mechekik says, how's it better if they say nothing? So most of the poskim seem to agree with that, and they don't hold by the Mordechai. So we say any case that you have to do it, that you have to do a do-over, you can't just say it. You have to take back the thing also. Yud Gimel, Yud in Chalkis Mechekik. Lefi Divrei Harav shepasuk lefi zeh denosan b'shtika mahanim. According to the Rav who paskins, which is interesting because he holds that the Meramo is paskins like this, like the Mordechai. That if you say it quietly, it's fine. So we must say the hacha ma'iri shehu nosan l'shem kedushin b'shtika v'hilo niskavna b'shas kabbalah rak l'shem atone. So we must say that what are we talking about here? That we have to. So what cases do we mean they have to redo it all, the whole thing altogether? Is when he gave it, he gave the ring and didn't say nothing, and he meant for betrothal, and she meant only for she understood it as this is a present. Even though after he goes and clarifies what he meant and says Hariyat Mekudeshes, you have to give it again. The tzricha he leida b'shas kabbalah kesef shneisen l'shem kedushin v'lo l'shem sivloim maton, because she has to understand at the time that it's being given, she has to understand that it's being given for her for betrothal and not that it's being given for a gift or for friendship. 1 second, we're almost done here. A couple more lines. But if she accepted it not as not realizing this, so ask now if she had a collateral, right? Then it's really not her property. Then he could actually say you are betrothed to me with this collateral that's in your hands, and he already wrote that if they both intended that it's for kedushin, then they have to have been talking about it first, though, because if they weren't talking about it first, none of this is nothing, and therefore he would have to then go ahead and take it back from her. And I think, let me see, I think the Beis Shmuel says the same thing.
No, I know about the Kollel Eretz Hatzvi says the same too.
Yeah. Fine. So we're holding by Dalit.
Yes.
Good morning, Kam Gan Yisrael.
Good morning.
Okay, let me make sure you're the.
I didn't change any titles. I'll do it.
Oh, because I have to stop my. Okay.